Today, I'll be showing you 5 separate villager seeds you can use for your Bedrock Edition world. These villagers can range from having tons and tons of loot to generate in pretty strange places to everything else in between. So hello everyone, this is Chris, and if you're looking for a village with quite a few number of blacksmiths, then you might be interested in this seed right here. And this seed is pretty interesting as is, as you spawn in a frozen taiga biome right here, right pretty near a ruined portal, but yeah. The village in question is actually just over this way, about a couple hundred blocks from where you spawn in. And for those who have a keen eye, when you actually get to this one village, you might notice quite a number of blacksmiths around the place. Well, that's because this village in question actually has 5 separate blacksmiths right here. And just to prove there's 5 blacksmiths in this one village, I'll place this honey block right in front of every single one of them, starting off with this one right here. Heading yourself off this way past the well, you get this one right here. Down across this street with some pretty low-end trees and some pretty big pumpkin patches, you get this one right here. Over down in this street, you get number 4 right here. And just at the very end of this one village, you get the 5th blacksmith right here, which means in case you want to have 5 separate chests with some pretty decent style loot inside of a single village that's just about a couple hundred blocks from spawn, then this is actually pretty good contender and a pretty decent village to actually do it in. And you might have also noticed that there's an azalea tree in this one village right here, and that can only mean one thing, being there is a lush cave beneath it. And in case you don't want to have to dig yourself into it, then there is actually a pretty decent way in actually heading down to it, because you just head down to this one exposed opening right here, and then you're inside of a lush cave right here. And I will say, this isn't the last time we're going to see lush caves and villages coinciding with each other in one way or another. But that can of course wait for later, because we have seed 2 to check out, which is these numbers right here. And I guess this seed is for those who want to have a pretty easy start, but also kind of a pretty hard start too, because as you can see, we are spawned pretty much right next to or right inside of a one village, but the only contender is that this village is a little bit on the dead side right here. So there is a whole bunch of easily accessible loot to get your hands on at the very start, though you do have these guys to deal with along the way. But in the end, I think it'd be totally worth it to actually make this your starter village or something like that at spawn. Not only because of all the already built up structures, but also because of the icebergs, which some of them actually do coincide with, say, I don't know, farms, as we can see right here somehow. Though it is better than what happened to this one pen right here, with this huge iceberg just spawning like right over the entirety of this one thing. But of course, if you're looking for some actual alive villages to actually work with, then there's actually this village just seeing itself right over here, right at these coordinates. But villages aren't the only interesting thing in some of these seeds, such as this seed we see right here, because right next to the one seed we see, there is like a shipwreck, which pretty much just spawn right on the very surface of the ocean. And it's not like a shipwreck that actually spawned like, you know, on a little bit of land under the water or something like that. No, it is literally a shipwreck which is just completely floating just in the middle of the ocean. But as you can see right here, the ship is not on its correct axis right here. So yeah, quite a big oddity right here. But in case you want a slightly easier treasure ship map, then I guess it's here. But I'm not here to make these seeds about shipwrecks. I'm here to make these seeds about villages. And the village in question you might be interested in heading to is actually this one right here, because not only does it have quite a decent number of blacksmiths all over the place, but it also has something that I don't think I see that often anymore in 1.18, and that is actually strongholds generating relatively close to spawn. And as luck would have it, this is actually the village that houses the stronghold of this one world. Because if you dig yourself down in these coordinates right down here, you might notice that eventually we find some stone bricks and yeah, the stronghold room right here. So by breaking through this wall right here and heading down these staircases, you'll eventually come across the stronghold with actually 3 Eyes of Ender already placed inside of the framework. Which, you know, 3 Eyes of Ender already in here is a pretty nice thing, but what's also really nice about this one stronghold and this one end portal room is if you dig through these iron bars you see right here, you dig a block right here, and then you dig up a few blocks up here, what you will eventually see is that actually you get deep slate coal ore pretty much right next to your end portal room right here. So in case you want some deep slate coal that's actually not too hard to get, then it is totally here and totally actually really accessible. And I guess also if you're looking for a seed to actually beat Minecraft relatively quickly with quite a decent number of loot, because again, there's a blacksmith right here, we got a blacksmith just right here, and then we get one right here, then yeah, this seed is actually quite a decent one in actually doing it. So having interesting structures connected onto villages is one thing, but what about biomes connected to villages? Well, if you type in these numbers we see right here, you actually get a fairly decent contender for a pretty beautiful looking village. And this isn't quite the village I'm talking about, but in case you do want to get yourself some starter gear or something like that at this one village, and it is totally here. But the actual village in question in which I'm talking about is actually in this direction, past this one absolutely massive mountain, which, you know, some people could see as a hindrance, but I see it as an actual bonus because you also get, you know, mega mountains, which actually goes up to essentially as high as they could physically go. So in case you want to set up a base in a mountain or something like that, then this is actually a pretty decent one to do it in. But one mountain which is arguably better than that one, though not quite as high as the one we spawned right next to, is this one we see at these coordinates, because not only do we have two ruined portals we pass on the way over here, not only do we have a village right next to this one mountain, but if we head inside of this huge mountain range, we can see that actually a few certain settlers have actually beaten you to it. Yeah, inside of this one huge gully, we actually get a village which actually spawned inside of it. And can I say, for all the places a village to actually be, this one might be one of the perfect places to actually put it in. Though, if they are looking to adventure, then it is slightly difficult in doing that. And not only do you get all the benefits from a village, being all the food, being all the beds, being all the villages, being all the village tradings, and everything like that, but you might have noticed also that there's quite a few decent, huge entrances to, I don't know, caves or something like that. Yeah, somehow at these huge wide coordinates, up all the way up in some place you wouldn't normally expect a huge cave to be in, there is an absolutely massive cave we could see just generating all over the place somehow. And not only does this cave go up really, really high, but it also goes down really, really low, because if we head just right down deeper and deeper and deeper, we could eventually find ourselves right the way down at the bottom of the world, starting from the very top of the world too. So in case you want to have some absolutely huge exploration along with having a really beautiful village place, then I think this seed gives you both essentially in the exact same place. But out of all the village seeds, I think this fifth and final one is actually my personal favorite, and probably the reason why I clicked on the video, and who knows, maybe it's even part of the thumbnail. But yeah, this one village actually has some pretty unique style of generation, to say the least, because if you head yourself in this direction right here, past the rune portal, which is a pretty cool commodity, you'll eventually find yourself a village on this one hill, and villages actually have a limit to how low they could actually generate in, which is, I believe, at Y64, which means they could generate, you know, from Y64 to pretty much as high as they could, or as high as the land can generate in. But that does also mean that in case there is any gaps or something like that, then that means that the village can actually allow itself to generate in lower, as we could see in this village, because we have the main village we could see just on top of the landscape in a normal, you know, traditional sense. But then if we head yourself into here, we could see some planters down here, which, you know, not too out of the ordinary yet. We get this one house a little bit lower, but if we head just right over here, past this one planter right here, we could see, what is this doing here? What is this village house doing here? What is this villager doing here inside of a lush cave, out of all things? And I guess the answer is because the lush cave was already exposed and there was no land for this house to connect onto. It allowed itself to generate in pretty much right here, and because it is above the Y64 limit, it actually allowed a villager house to somehow spawn inside of a lush cave. And you also get the benefits of a village by actually having a blacksmith up here, but come on, the lush cave village, this is one of the coolest types of village generation I think I have ever seen inside of 1.18 generation. And we found certain village houses inside of caves before, but I don't think we've ever found one inside of an actual cave biome like what we see right here. So let me know what you think of these village seeds down below in the comments. Let me know if you have any particular seeds yourself, but for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all later.